Hey guys, Oscar Combs here with the ISO 9001 group with another episode of the ISO Show. In today's episode of the ISO Show, we're going to talk about the McDonald's E. coli breakout. One person has died, 49 people have fallen ill from an E. coli breakout linked to the McDonald's Quarter Pounder burger. Is there a food safety issue or concern at McDonald's? Let's talk about it. All right, guys, let's talk about this E. coli breakout at McDonald's, specifically related to their Quarter Pounder burger, and more specifically, it is being linked to the onions on the burger. Now, as I mentioned, one person has died, 49 people fell ill, all eating the Quarter Pounder burger. So I guess that's why it's linked to that specific burger. So that's a concern, guys. We're going to a restaurant, fast food restaurant, or could be any restaurant. And we should not have to be concerned about dying from the food that we're eating at a restaurant. But without proper food safety protocols, that is a concern. So we should not take it for granted just because we're going to these big name restaurants. I call McDonald's a big name because it's a big franchise, right? It's been around a long time. So people trust it. So they just go in and get a burger, get some fries or whatever, and they really don't feel like they should be concerned about food safety, which they should not be concerned about food safety. But guys, food safety is something that we all should be concerned about. Now, in relations to this issue, the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, they issued a food safety alert on October the 22nd, 2024, warning that dozens of people reported eating the Quarter Pounder sandwich at McDonald's before they became sick. So this is how they are connecting it specifically to the Quarter Pounder. Now, the United States Food Drug Administration, FDA, says that the silvered onions or the beef patties on the Quarter Pounder sandwich are likely the sources of contamination. So they're saying it could be the onions or it could be the beef patties. Now, McDonald's, in response to this, they have taken the Quarter Pounder off the menu in about a fifth of its stores, the article says. So they've totally taken it off the menu in specific areas or regions of the country. Some of those areas include Colorado, Nebraska. So those are specifically where the person died or got sick. And other illnesses have been reported in Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Montana, Oregon, Utah, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. So if you live in those areas, you should be aware and mindful of this issue. I'm sure it's being reported in your local news, or maybe when you're going to your local McDonald's, you're seeing some kind of notice related to this E. coli breakout. Now, McDonald's has also stopped serving or using the onions. So the onions is being linked to the onions, and they've also stopped serving the Quarter Pound beef patty, right? So that is the Quarter Pounder. And so in these states, Colorado, Kansas, Utah, Wyoming, as well as Idaho, Iowa, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. So they have stopped serving the onions and the patties in these areas while they are investigating. So they are still investigating the issue, trying to get to what we call the root cause of the issue. Now, McDonald's supplier, Taylor Farms, they removed their yellow onions from the market. They stayed out of an abundance of caution. But guys, people don't really do things if they don't have a reason to. So, I mean, yes, they say they did it out of an abundance of caution, but evidently there must be a link to their onions. So really, that's why they're doing it, because there's a reason for them to do it. All right, now, Taylor Farms is a distributor or supplier to McDonald's. They're one of their main suppliers for onions. They also supply many other fast food restaurants or other restaurants with onions and other produce as well. All right, so guys, this is why I always talk about us managing our supply chain, our suppliers. We just can't assume that our suppliers are doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, we should be able to have faith, but that's why we need to go and do those supplier evaluations. We need to do those on-site inspections and audits, not just the paperwork or the paper evaluation. We got to get up, go to the supplier's location. In this instance, Taylor Farms, right? So we have to do better at that, guys. A Taylor Farms spokesperson said that they found no traces of E. coli in their test. All right, so that's good, but we're having an issue still with the ingredients of the quarter pounder. So they so far have been linked to the onions and also possibly the beef patty. So, but Taylor Farms said that they found no traces of E. coli in their onions. And they also say that they've never seen E. coli associated with onions, period. So I find that very interesting. I'm sure it's factual, but we need to do a little more research on that. Now, other fast food restaurants are also taking precaution, right? Could be some of your favorite restaurants. Maybe they're not caught up in this McDonald's breakout, but Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King, or some of the other restaurants that also purchase onions from Taylor Farms. So guys, I'm not saying that this is a Taylor Farms issue or a McDonald's issue. They are still investigating. But sure enough, 49 people have fallen ill. One person has died, guys. People shouldn't be dying from eating hamburgers or onions. Guys, this personally hits home for me because the quarter pounder meal is my meal. That's my go-to meal. When I go to McDonald's, I get a number 2. Fortunately, I always say a number 2 with no onions. So, man, Texas wasn't listed here. This is where I reside, here in Texas. But, we should still be mindful, guys. Evidently, there's some issues. Even if your area was not mentioned, you should be mindful and be careful and just see how this all plays out. Now, let's look into this a little bit more and talk about some of the regulations and standards that are related to food safety, guys. This is the issue that we're talking about, food safety. All right, before we get into these standards, let's talk just briefly about E. coli. What is E. coli? One thing I want to say is that we probably shouldn't be overreacting. Don't stop eating your burgers and all of that, but you definitely want to be mindful. And if those notices are up at your local McDonald's, you should probably choose something else on the menu. until they sort this out, and then they report what was the root of this breakout. We want to make sure they find that first. Now, E. coli is a common bacteria, okay? It's common, but certain types of E. coli can make you sick. So if someone swallows something or consumes something that's contaminated with E. coli, that's how you get E. coli. That's how you get contaminated or infected with it, either food or water. It can also spread from person to person, maybe through bad bathroom hygiene. That was something that we really focused on in COVID-19, was making sure we were washing our hands very good, right? And some of us, for the first time, started washing our hands properly when COVID happened, right? So E. coli seems to spread through bad or poor bathroom hygiene. People with E. coli infections, you will experience symptoms such as a severe stomach cramp or diarrhea, fever, vomiting. None of those things sound fun, right? So this is why food safety is so important, because if we just get a small amount of bacteria in our system, it will have a major impact on us. Now, most people can and do recover when they are infected by E. coli and other bacteria, but in some instances, it can have a severe impact on your kidneys and require you to go to the hospital. And guess what? Seniors and little children are the ones that are more susceptible to such infections, guys. It makes sense, right? Because their immune systems and elderly people are weakened, and younger people still developing. And the person who died was a elderly person. So, guys, again, we just need to be more careful and mindful. And also, these organizations need to ensure that proper food safety protocols are followed all the way through their food chain and their supply chain. So what are some of the standards that deal with it? So one of those standards is ISO 22000. And a lot of our clients come to us for help with GMP, good manufacturing practices, guys. So let's talk a little bit about that. The president of McDonald's, he says, Mr. Joe Erlinger, says that the food is safe at McDonald's, okay? And he says that all of the affected ingredients are probably not in the food chain anymore. Well, the word that concerns me is when he says probably not. Mr. Erlinger, I think you should not make such definitive statements if we are not 100% certain that this issue has been investigated and we get to the root cause of the breakout. All right, so we need to understand that before we say that it's probably worked its way out of the supply chain. Now, I went to McDonald's food safety fact sheet, and it talks about their procedure for hand washing, and they require employees to wash their hands every 1 hour, regardless of what they're doing. But here's the question, that sounds good, but how do you verify that an employee is washing their hands every 1 hour? And secondly, how do we verify that when they are washing their hands, that they are indeed washing their hands properly? There's a whole process that is necessary for properly washing hands. And let's say they do that. Let's say that they wash their hands every 1 hour. They wash their hands properly. what ensures when they come out of washing their hands out of the restroom that they're not touching someone else or something that is contaminated with E. coli? I mean, so I think we need to do better controls at McDonald's, and also McDonald's must do more to monitor and verify that their suppliers, especially their food chain suppliers, are following these standards and protocols that we're about to talk about. One of which is from the United States, CFR 21 CFR Part 110. This is a federal regulation from the United States government on current good manufacturing practices for food, for human food, for manufacturing it, packaging it, and holding it. So warehousing it, right? And so in this regulation, we find things about sanitary operations, sanitary facilities, keeping everything clean in the facility, equipment, keeping the equipment and the utensils properly sanitized, the processes and controls that should be in place to prevent contamination. And while things are being stored and warehoused, like these onions, for example, that we are not contaminating with things such as E. coli, right? Also, ISO, you guys know ISO, right? They have food safety standards. One of them is 22,000. Current version 2018 deals with food safety management systems. All right, so there are some key things in this standard that could have prevented this. One of them we will find in clause 8.5.4. Again, this is in ISO 22000. Talks about the hazard control plan. We call it HACCP, or hazard analysis and critical control points. All right. Now, it also talks about operational prerequisites. Okay, what are those? Those are control measures or a combination of control measures applied to prevent. See, guys, that's the key. We want to prevent things and reduce significant food safety hazards. All right, so this clause also states that the organization shall establish, implement, maintain a hazard control plan. So this would apply to McDonald's. This would apply to McDonald's suppliers, right? Taylor Farms, for example. This clause also says that the organization shall establish a systematic approach for food safety. Look at this, guys. A systematic approach for food safety that helps identify, helps reduce, and control hazards in the food production process, right? So it's in the standard. So McDonald's and Taylor Farms should work more to address the requirements of their HACCP programs, their prerequisite programs. Clause 8.8, verification related to the PRPs, the prerequisite program. So the key here, guys, is verification, right? It says that in 8.8, that the organization, we could say that McDonald's, that Taylor Farms, shall establish, implement, and maintain verification activities. The verification planning shall define purpose, methods, frequencies, and responsibilities for the verification activities. So, of course, it's not just enough to say that we're washing hands every hour. Well, how do we verify those things, right? How does Taylor Farms verify their food safety protocols, right? In 8.8, it also says that it requires, McDonald's requires their employees to wash their hands every hour, but we need to verify that, guys. All right, let's look at 8.8, right? 8.8 is called verification related to PRPs and the hazard control plan. Guys, we have to verify things. We can't just assume people are doing things because we have protocols and procedures in place. The standard, ISO 22000, says that the organization shall establish, implement, and maintain verification activities. So we have to verify. So it's one thing for McDonald's to say every employee, regardless of what they're doing, they should wash their hands every 1 hour. But how do we verify these things are being done? How does McDonald's verify the activities of their supplier, Taylor Farms? How are they doing that? Right? The verification step, guys, this is where many organizations fall short, not just McDonald's or Taylor Farms. Many organizations just assume that their suppliers in their supply chain are doing what they're supposed to do. Well, our job is to get up and verify it. So guys, here it is. We had one person die, 49 people fell ill from eating a quarter pounder, my favorite burger. But I'm not going to be eating a quarter pounder for a while now. I need to hear more about what's going on here. But I would encourage you all to not take your food safety for granted, right? Even in your own homes, food safety is applicable. All the companies that you buy food from, especially processed food, right? We need to be mindful of all food safety protocols. So don't take it for granted. Don't just go up and, I'm just gonna go and buy a Mexican pizza or a quarter pounder, Big Mac. Well, you should be able to, but you need to be considering food safety. Sometimes you can just go to the counter and you can tell if they're operating in sanitary conditions. Some places I've gone to, I don't see them wearing their hair nets and gloves, and things are not clean. And so I don't feel comfortable ordering food from there, right? So we just need to be more careful and mindful, guys. Stop taking food safety for granted. Let me know what you think about this issue with the McDonald's quarter pounder. Do you like quarter pounders? Maybe that's your favorite burger as well. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this and how do you think McDonald's is doing in regards to handling this issue, guys. Hey, hit the notification button so that every time that we drop new content that you receive an alert. I ask that you share this video, like this video. Guys, people need to hear about this, and they are depending on you to share this information. Take a moment, subscribe to our channel, okay? You're going to get a lot of information. We are here to help the people. Oscar Combs here with the ISO 9001 group, helping organizations and people improve their operations and reduce their risk. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye now.